Howdy, partners! Happy New Year and welcome to the Haunted Chronicles, episode 144. Shut the door. We have a great guest for you tonight, Dave Schrader, host of Darkness Radio. Dave's show airs Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time, I believe. Please visit darknessradio.com for more information. Dave just flew in to Haunted Chronicles Studios in the last hour, and he's waiting patiently in the green room and will join us momentarily. This episode is sponsored by An Evening with Annabelle, which the next date is March 11th, and you can visit warrens.net for more information on that. I am Mr. Haunted, joined by Jennifer Jigglypuff Runyon and the baby-faced assassin, Brock Burrows. Happy New Year, fellas.
Hey.
Happy New Year.
It's been a great New Year.
People missed us last week.
I know. Yeah, we were dark last week.
It's always dark.
Yeah, but we needed it because
Yes.
I'm just getting over the stupid sinus infection. And
but you also have a great win. That was amazing, Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
What a comeback.
Yeah,
Comeback.
Oh, I mean, we sat here in shock, Brock. I mean, literally, it was like, are you kidding me? That was amazing.
We were too.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It's kind of like, where were we the first half? But,
Yeah.
you know, hey, it only matters how you finish. So
That's exactly right.
But we're getting ready to get snow. Like, we got unexpected 1 inch today, but tomorrow, late tonight and tomorrow, we're on the low end. We're supposed to get like 4 inches.
Lord.
But Victor and Linda,
You read my mind.
they're supposed to get 15 inches in a place that normally doesn't get that much snow.
Oh my gosh.
They're going to be
brutal.
shut down for a couple days, I imagine.
And my stars, it was snowing like the Dickens this morning here.
My
wow.
stars.
And Brock, I was going to tell you I have an expected inch every day here. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
No.
So, Jimmy,
Yes.
how you doing?
Well, today I am happier than the Guadalupan fruit frog, throwing karate kicks all over the place on a lily pad of a sunlit pond, like he's frickin' Neil Diamond or something.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
Very nice. That's pretty
Neil-
good.
Neil Diamond.
Yeah. That's so random.
I know.
Oh, my God.
I hope nothing happens to him next week. You know how
Yeah,
things go
really.
here.
Please.
I have one thing before our guest tonight has agreed to play celebrity birthday game with us.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you, last time we were on, we were talking about people that say words wrong, and like we cringe when they say them, but you don't want to correct them.
Yes.
And this week, I heard somebody at work talk about their New Year's revolutions, which it sounds fun.
It's fun. That must be really fun.
Yeah, so apparently they'll circle the sun this year. Good for them.
Yeah. There you go.
So, you know what? Let us bring on our guest immediately because we're going to run out of time and say, I wish we had more time.
I know.
One more thing I got to tell everybody. My phone's a little screwed up because it fell partially into my Tuscan-style bean soup.
Nice.
That was my highlight.
It did. Of course it did.
Why wouldn't it?
Right?
Our guest tonight, among other things, is an author, paranormal investigator, contributor to TAP's Para magazine. He's been he appeared on A&E's Paranormal State, Ghost Adventures. He's a host. Say that. He is a host on Coast to Coast AM, and with Tim Dennis, hosts the popular radio program Darkness Radio, which airs Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time. And here he comes down the hallway, Darkness Dave Schrader.
Woo! Hey, Dave.
Welcome, Dave.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah,
And
this
thank
is
you,
great.
and congratulations on your 11th year. You're starting your...
Yeah, it's been a long journey, long, fun journey.
Wow.
I was just a kid then. So, Dave has...
So was I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please join us in our celebrity birthday game, which I mentioned to you, but you probably have no idea what we're talking about. These actors have appeared in scary movies, and they have a birthday coming up next week, and you guess how old they're going to be. It's a hoot.
Okay.
It's a hoot.
Our first guy is Nicolas Cage, who was in Vampire's Kiss, Face Off. See, that's scary because they took his face off. Ghost Rider, Grindhouse, The Knowing, Season of the Witch, and Wicker Man. Nicolas Cage, and of course in other movies that we love, but those are the scary ones.
Okay, let's let Dave go first. Our guest, Dave. What do you think?
I'm going to say 56.
There you go. All right, I will let Brett go. I mean, Brock go. Who's Brett?
I ain't thinking anything.
Remember the time I called Dr. Dave Eric? Okay, Brock, I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Okay, you go next because I'm not sure.
54?
Okay, I'm going to go 58 just because.
Nicolas Cage will be 53 years old.
Oh my God.
He does not look a day over 59.
Thank you. Wow.
And if you remember that vampire picture for that vampire guy, that picture for like 200 years ago that looks just like
Dorian Gray, the picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, I think he bought a really haunted house in New Orleans. And last I heard, he was having a lot of trouble selling it. He was trying to sell it. I don't know the whole story.
Actually, it was.
Did you hear that?
It's the LaLaurie house, which I think they featured on American Horror Story a few years ago. The idea behind the LaLaurie house, and I don't think he had any problem selling it. I think he defaulted on it, if I remember correctly from the news.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
There's a very wealthy person that owns the house now, and only uses it a few times a year, and refuses to let people go in to investigate it.
Oh, see, you know the backstory.
Yeah.
I love this.
Oh, I know it all. Deep dark secrets. You don't even want to know what I know about you, Jen. You don't want to know.
Oh no. I'm scared.
bless little Nicholas's Valley Girl heart.
Yes.
I only had two, but I added one, so we have three today. Rob Zombie, musician, actor, director, producer, known for 2007's Halloween, House of a Thousand Corpses, Grindhouse, and The Devil's Rejects. Rob Zombie. Dave?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go Rob Zombie 53.
52?
I feel like we're on The Price is Right.
Yeah, right? 54. I'm going to go 54.
Brett is correct.
Oh, Brett. Brett.
Son of a biscuit.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have one more.
All right.
Norman Reedus, who was in Pandorum, Blade 2, Let the Devil Wear Black, and plays Daryl Dixon on the TV series The Walking Dead, which I didn't watch one episode yet, and I'm going to marathon watch it one day. Mm-hmm. Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. I think he's like right around my age. I knew him more from the Boondock Saints movies. That's the Norman Reedus I love. I'm going to say he's 48.
50?
I'm going to say 48.
He will be 48 years old.
I knew it. I'm just going to stick with Dave on that one.
And thank you for playing along in the chat, fellas. That does it for Celebrity Birthdays.
Woohoo! All right.
Now, David, Jennifer, I believe you have a question for our guest.
Well, my first question I want to ask you, Dave, is how did you get into all of this? How did this start for you?
Well, I was born at a very early age, Jen. I remember being born. I cried like a baby. Shook me a bit. I couldn't talk for a year. I didn't want me to go quite that back, did you? I've had the paranormal stuck me through my whole life. My grandmother used to visit me after she passed when I was about two years old. I grew up in a very haunted house in Medina, Illinois. I had a big sighting when I was about 12 years old in Foley, Alabama, and UFO sightings over Trout Lake, Washington in 2006. So I've just kind of always been in the right place at the weirdest times, and I've had an opportunity to investigate some of the biggest claims and put myself in historic locations and have some really cool moments.
Wow.
What happened with your grandmother incident?
Yeah. When she passed away, I was very young. She never had a son. She had my mom and aunt, and had always wanted a boy. So I kind of her pride and joy. She passed away, sadly, of cirrhosis, and my mom would leave me at my grandfather's overnight sometime, and although they loved each other desperately, they lived in separate rooms because my grandfather snored like a chainsaw. So I would sleep in what used to be grandmother's room. And my mom would pick me up, and I would tell her, Grandma came to visit me last night, and, go into detail about it. And I told her how funny it was. So Grandma didn't have all of her teeth, and I started to describe what Grandma was wearing. Well, my grandma was buried in a closed casket, but only my aunt, grandfather, and the mortician she had been buried in. And I described to a T what she had been buried in, and the fact that they had removed her false teeth burial. So Mom took notice of that, and at first she thought I was just dreaming of it, and she mentioned it to my aunt, and my aunt just flipped out. She had received phone calls from my grandmother after her passing.
Oh,
so
wow!
To have that kind of backed up my experience of seeing my grandmother, who would read to me and talk to me. I have no physical memory of that now, but that was a big part of legend and lore when I was growing up. So that was partly what we started to, invigorate my interest in the paranormal. And I said, what's a surreal moment? I remember looking at the Amityville horror book on the counter in my house, and I wanted to read it so bad. I want to look at it because it looks so creepy. And Mom told me, no, that's too scary for you. And then lo and behold, all these years later, one of my good friends is Christopher Quaratino, and I had a chance to introduce him to my mom. So here, he had the opportunity to scare a lot of my mom with his family story. And then, I got to introduce him as my friend and my mom. So it was kind of an interesting, this has been an interesting journey all the way around.
Yeah.
But another weird coincidence, because we had Christopher on our last show.
Yeah. Yeah, he was awesome.
I'm sorry, you cut out. You cut out on me. What was that?
Oh, we had Christopher on our last show.
Right? Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah,
great guy,
awesome.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. He was great. Wow. Now you sent me all these cool.
Frightening story.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to hear his version of everything. Right?
When it comes out finally.
Yeah, when he finally gets that all done. I think we have a little delay, so I apologize if I'm stepping over you.
No problem.
I had a question though. You sent me a couple of things, and
right.
I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the Psychomantium scrying mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, this is this is pretty interesting, and it's been around forever. I mean, Nostradamus used to stare into a bowl of still water, and he would see things reflected in that water, and he would write his quatrains and his predictions for the future. And scrying has been around forever. I mean, one form or another, usually looking into a reflective surface with low lighting. So I'm very skeptical in nature, which is weird for a guy that's into the paranormal. I'm a skeptical believer. I've had experiences throughout my life, but I don't believe everything I experience or what everybody tells me. I question, and I think that's a good part of being an investigator is questioning what actually takes place. So I knew kind of the idea behind the scrying mirror, and I was at an event about 3 years ago, and they had set one up in this little room, and I thought, well, what the heck? I'll go in, we'll see what happens. I brought my audio recorder in. You're supposed to be kind of devoid of all other senses and just in this dark room with this light flickering candle with the mirror. And I turned on my audio recorder and set it down just in case I could get some electronic voice phenomena while I was in there. Because we were in a haunted place. We're in the Houghton Mansion in out east. And I started just looking into the mirror, and I got bored after a little bit, so I started asking questions and seeing if I could get my grandparents to come through or anything strange. And nothing was going on. Nothing was happening. And then the really bizarre stuff started to happen. Suddenly, and I could see my face in the mirror, I could see my face morphed into my good friend Jeff Belanger. And Jeff was in the house. He was at the location leading a ghost hunt at the time. And I could see Jeff's face, and it kept fading in and out of Jeff's face. And I'm like, what the? Why are you showing me Jeff's face? Is he okay?
That's not normal.
Is everything...
Yeah.
No, not at all. And I'm like, is he all right? And then it faded back, and I could just see my face. And then a few minutes later, this face started to appear in the mirror. And it was our friend, Father Andrew Calder, who had passed away earlier that year. And Andy was an exorcist, and he appeared on some episodes of Paranormal State, and very, very good man, and was kind of my go-to guy when we ran into cases that were really dark and malevolent. And I hadn't seen Andy prior to his passing, unfortunately. We both went into the hospital at the same time, and roughly a year later, he passed away. And I'd gotten out, of course, after my deal, but we just hadn't had a chance to connect until his passing. And suddenly he appeared in the mirror, and I was just dumbfounded by what I was looking at. And I'm like, my mind is playing a trick on me. It's got to be. And I said, Andy, is there anything you want me to say? And he just gave me this silly little smile he used to have. And then I said, all right, I'll tell Evie, his fiance, that you were here and that you're okay. And he kind of smiled, and then he was gone out of the mirror. And that had such an impact. I just began sobbing in this room. And I came out of the room and was supposed to be leading the rest of the ghost hunt with Jeff. And I'm like, dude, I'm a blubbering mess. I need to just kind of recollect myself. He's like, yeah, go ahead. What happened? I told him and kind of took a break. So that's been a part of our events now. We'll set up these psychomantium rooms where we can have the mirror and a candle and give people a chance to go in and have these experiences where they might see something. And that leads to one of the creepiest experiences I've ever had. We were at the Palmer House in Sauk Center, Minnesota, which has been featured on Ghost Adventures and My Ghost Stories and Aftershocks and a bunch of different specials. And I'd gone down there and had set up the psychomantium, and people were going through it all day and having very strange encounters. And there was this woman, she wanted to go down, but she was really uncomfortable with being alone in this dark room. So she begged me to just stay down there with her. And I said, you're supposed to do this alone. You're not supposed to see me. You're not supposed to have any other distractions. And she said, I want to have this experience so bad, but please, I can't be down here alone. So being the gentleman I was, I agreed to sit behind this beautiful blonde standing on a dais while I stared at her butt for the next 15 minutes while she did this. I'm like, I'm like that, Jen. I'm a giver. If the call is there, I'll step up. But so we start to settle in, and it's very dark, and I can see past her, but I'm sitting at an angle. She can't see me in the mirror. She's just focused on what she needs to see. And all of a sudden, I see something moving at the bottom of the mirror, and I see her head tip down like she's looking at the same thing I am. And suddenly, at the bottom of this oval mirror, this little boy's face pops up, like he's looking over the mirror at us. Oh. And I'm trying to keep my cool and not freak her out, but I'd never seen anything like this. It was literally like a horror movie, like the kid was trapped in another reality looking at us through the mirror. And then he ducked his head down, and she goes, tell me you just saw. And I said, the little boy. And she goes, yeah. And again, I'm trying to keep my cool. And she goes, that was insane, David. What the hell was it? And I go, just relax. Let it happen. That freaked me out. So I'm sitting there in the low light flickering, and, your eyes start to play tricks on you. So I turned to my right, and I just stared off into the blackness of this dark room. to let my eyes kind of readjust. When I turn back, I'm sitting behind her off to the side a little bit. And I notice it's weird. Okay, she's standing there. She's got the candle in front of her. So I've got this, what appears to be her shadow behind her. And I looked at it and I was like, it just seemed off. Something didn't seem right, especially with the way the shadow looked, because she was standing there with her arms down by her sides, and the shadow seemed to be facing me with its arms in front of itself. And I'm trying to process this, and I'm okay, you're tired, you're in a dark room in a basement with a low light and a flickering candle, your eyes are playing tricks on you, and I look back up at this thing, and suddenly it bends over and puts its face right into mine, this shadow figure, and it just bends over and looks at me, and then stands back up behind her like it's her shadow. And my blood ran ice cold. And I said, we should probably get out of here now. And she's like, yeah, okay, this is great. Again, trying to keep my cool through this whole, keep my composure. And I'm like, can you just lean over and turn the light on? So she flicks the light on, and we went upstairs. And that, you prepare yourself. And I have people go, aren't you afraid going into these locations? And I say, no. That's like, would you be surprised seeing a bear at the zoo? You went to the zoo, you went to see a bear and a lion and a monkey, so you're not going to be freaked out by them. So when I go to these locations, I'm not afraid. It doesn't mean I can't get shocked and freaked out from time to time, but I'm not afraid. I'm there to have this experience. But that would be one of the closest moments I've had of actual pure terror, when the shadow bent down from the waist down, just bent towards me and had its face inches from mine and then stood back up. That, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what the hell that was, and I hope never to have that experience again. That's all I can say.
My God.
I have one question about the mirror. Because I brought my sister one of those as a birthday present when I was a kid, and I read the instructions, and it was just a black mirror, and it said just look into the mirror and let your eyes relax, whatever. And it started like rippling like a pond. Like it's like if you dropped a pebble in a pond, and then I got scared enough that I just turned it over because I didn't want to know what I was going to see. Now I wish I stuck it out.
Well, you don't need the black mirror. That's another version, that the black scrying mirror. You can do it by yourself, literally, kind of the old-fashioned bathroom Bloody Mary thing. Just go in and use one low light setting. Get close, and you can do it one of a couple ways. You can kind of sit where you cannot see even yourself, like Nostradamus would look into the pan of water without seeing his reflection, and things would appear to him. Or, as some people like to do, is they'll stare kind of, I'll look in the mirror and I'll kind of look over my right ear. So I'm not looking at myself. I'm letting my eyes just relax like you would looking at those 3D, hidden pictures. Yeah. And I just let happen whatever happens. And we've had experiences of people seeing full-on figures moving around them. And again, still being a skeptic and thinking, I don't know if I believe this. My friend Jolie, who was at Houghton Mansion with me, said, I have to show you something. She goes, I snuck my video camera in just to videotape what was going on. And while she's filming it, at one point in her visual spectrum, the whole mirror blacks out. You can't see anything. And she plays back the video, and you hear her react. When she plays back the video captures the entire mirror go black, as though something just moved in front of it and blocked out all of the reflective items. So it wasn't just a game of the eyes. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of it. But there's some really great work done by Dr. Raymond Moody, and if you haven't had him on your show, I'd highly recommend it. And he's written, kind of the premier books on life after life, and he does a lot of work with the psychomantia mirror, and he helps a lot of people with post-traumatic stress disorder. I know how you guys can't stand when people misspeak, so I'm trying to give it to you the right way.
Yeah, because we never do.
Yeah, because then you can go in and he'll help anybody with that postpartum depression transmission order. But he does work with that and has been able to actually help many people that are dealing with PTSD. So I would recommend people research his work as well, and you can see there's a lot of good that can come from the Psychomantium, the scrying mirror.
Yeah.
Are there? I'm sorry, Jimmy. Go ahead. I was just going to say,
whoever you are.
Whoever you are. What is wrong with my brain lately?
Brett.
Dave, have you ever heard of any? I mean, is this like, you know how they say don't play with the Ouija board because it's dangerous? Right. You might be letting bad things into, conjuring up bad things.
Sure.
Do you think the mirror does that as well? The scrying mirror, can it do the same thing?
No. Here's the deal. It depends on what you go in with your intention set. I don't believe the Ouija board is evil. It's cardboard and plastic. If cardboard and plastic were evil, Barbie would have been banned years ago. It's a tool. It's no more dangerous than an audio recorder or a camera. But when you start talking to people, what was your first experience with a Ouija board? Most of us were at a party. We were trying to spook each other. We were trying to get that girl to move a little closer to us or get that guy to put his arm around us. Right? So it was, you were going into it with the intention to get freaked out. So when something freaky happens, you automatically assume it's the demonic realm and something evil. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Tim and I are two goofy guys. If I decide to stay on this planet as a ghost, the first thing I'm going to do is be the one to muck with you when you're messing with the Ouija board. I'm not demonic, but I will spell die, and I will poke you in the ear while you're trying to do it, right? So I'm going to give you reasons to be afraid just because that's my personality. I don't think people automatically have to jump to the fact that it's the demonic. Scrying mirror. If you're standing in front of the mirror going Beelzebub, you're setting an intention of what you want to have happen. Whereas if you just kind of let happen what happens, it's the intention and it's the way you come into these things. And I think if you're positive and you want to have a great experience, there are some amazing books that have been written with the use of the Ouija board, books that were meant to help people. So again, here's what, so many of the great innovators of many of the different pieces of equipment out there to communicate with the dead have told me. Bill Chappell and Frank Sumption and Gary Galka and people like that. I said, what happens when your machines start getting something you don't like? They said, I turn it off and I put it away. So I tell people, if you're dealing with the Ouija board and it starts, telling you it's Zozo and it's going to eat your soul, you have an amazing ability to put it back in the box, put the lid on the box, and then if you really want to torture it for ironic sake, stick it back in the closet under the game of life, right? Mm-hmm. And let it realize that's its place. It doesn't control you. Never one of these stories ends with, and at the middle of the night I could hear clicking in the hall, and I opened the door and the Ouija board was walking towards me saying, "Play me, play me." You have complete and utter, right. You have complete and utter control of your own destiny. We have to take that power back. Does that mean evil can't do bad things? No, it certainly can. But if you are open to it and you're terrified of it, it's going to play with you a lot quicker than it's going to play with anybody else. And that's why, doing what I do and researching the paranormal, I get calls all the time. My favorite is, Dave, I think I've got a demon. Well, you don't. You can go to bed. And they're like, well, I didn't even tell you what happened. I said, no, but you gave me the best word. The key word in that sentence was, I think I have a demon. I'm going to guess if you have a demon, you're not going to wonder if you have a demon, right? It's not going to leave you scratching your head. You're going to know. Your head's going to spin. Your cat's going to start talking, Latin. You're going to know that there's a demon in your house. So I've asked, and one of my favorite stories was I asked this woman. She's like, I have a demon in my house. I don't know what to do. Please. And I said, why do you believe it's a demon? And she goes, well, on the wall was my grandmother's favorite plate. And I was sitting there, and it flew off the wall and shattered. And I said, okay. She goes, yeah, it broke, shattered. I go, did it make like a 6-6? Did it make like a 666 pattern when it broke? No. I said, did the shards jump up and fly across the room and try to slit your throat? No. I go, why is that demonic? Well, it was my grandmother's favorite plate. And I started internally laughing because then, I'm a very visual guy. In my mind's eye, all I could picture was roll call in hell that day, right? And Satan's got his list, and he's like, all right, roll call. Jen, you're going to go to Iraq and stir things up. Jimmy, you're going to make Donald Trump president. And you, over there, you're going to go break Grandma's plate. What the hell kind of hierarchy demon? Is it like his semi-special nephew that really can't handle any other jobs? I get to break plates. That's that demon's job. So again, if it doesn't, if you're going to have a demonic encounter, you're going to have a demonic encounter.
Right.
With that said, people will tell me, but I have 3 scratches. I woke up with 3 scratches. And I'll tell you guys to do this right now as I tell my listeners when we do this experiment. I go, here's what you have to remember. Who made the rule that demons only have 3 fingers? Second of all, take your hand right now, put it on your arm, and scratch your arm.
3
or
fingers.
your leg, whatever's available. Right. It's the 3 middle fingers that hit. The side of the thumb doesn't count, and the pinky really doesn't have enough pressure to do it. What's left, you see 3 scratch marks. We're constantly touching ourselves. Some of us more than others, Jimmy. But we're constantly touching ourselves and scratching and itching and rubbing, and you never know. And especially when you're sleeping. And people want to jump to the conclusion it's a demon.
We will be right back after this short break. Our guest tonight is Schrader, and I got some business to tend to. We'll be right back.
Who apparently hit a little too close to home.
Welcome back to the Haunted Chronicles, home of your halftime guaranteed shout-out to all those in chat tonight. Thank you for coming. Anne Maria, Dr. Dave, Jason, Tiffany, Karen, Jane Doe, Indy Dwayne, Doug, Nicholas, Brock, Cheryl Carter, Kara E., Randy, Mary, Desi, Max, Bobby Ann, Claire, Michelle, Wendy, Junebug and Brandon, Derek, Rick, Frankie B., and Corey. Any shout-outs, guys?
Dave, you got one?
I got one more. We were talking on break about misspoken words, and one of my favorite. Like I said, we all do it. I'm not saying I don't, but one of my favorites is a blessing in the skies.
A blessing in the skies. That's a good one.
All right, where were we?
Well, we won't go into where we were.
No.
You were touching yourself, if I recall properly, Jimmy. I was just telling ghost stories.
Yeah.
Jen was reading Bible verses, and that's pretty much where we left it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got, you mentioned Darkness Radio. You mentioned Darkness Radio earlier, which I've been a part of for 11 years, and we've got a new show called Beyond the Darkness now that can be heard as part of Podcast One and on iTunes. And it's a 1-hour show that comes out every Monday. And we will look at topics like our first 2 weeks. We looked at, first one was black-eyed kids and possession.
Ooh,
Second week, we looked at black-eyed kids and alien intruders. Could they be aliens? This last week, we had Rosemary Ellen Guiley and Heidi Hollis on discussing shadow people, this kind of silent invasion of these sinister creatures. And in each episode, we try to talk to 2 different guests, and at the halfway mark, we do a new thing called Theater of the Mind, where we've taken some of the stories our listeners have sent in to us over the years, and I'll do a reading of them while Tim adds some subtle sound effects behind the story to kind of make it 3D come to life in your ears. And we're getting good response. People are freaking out from them, so that's been nice. There's supposedly real encounters that listeners have sent in, and but it's every Monday right now, and it's called Beyond the Darkness, and you can find it on iTunes. You can find it on podcast1.com, and just go check it out. If your listeners like the paranormal and they like new and weird, that's what I've got for them once a week with Beyond the Darkness. This next week we're doing Bigfoot Killer Encounters, where we're going to be talking about violent interactions with Bigfoot and some historic ones that are really terrifying. A couple weeks out, we're going to do Slender Man, from internet meme to murder. So we're going to talk about some of these different topics as well. So that's what's going on Beyond the Darkness, and I'm really proud of it. It's a fun little show, and it's something different, and we're able to do a different aspect and kind of come at the paranormal real quick, get the meat of the story out, and move on. So that's what we're working on right now. And I'll tell you what, I'll do something for you guys. I know a lot of the people you said were asking to ask me about my cryptic message on Darkness Radio last night. We're still not able to completely give what's going on with that, but tune into Darkness Radio tonight. There's a brand new episode of Darkness Radio, so you can check that out for yourself at darknessradio.com, and more news will be forthcoming, and that's all I can say at this point. All right?
Great.
All right, fair enough.
Do you have any stories about a pet cemetery?
Oh.
No. Why do you ask?
It just came into my mind.
I grew up in Illinois, and in Hanover Park there was this pet cemetery, and it was one of those places of legend and lore, supposedly, where they'd done animal sacrifices there, and you could go there during the day, and it's this beautiful, breezy, airy pet cemetery, and at night it's this creep factor. Well, my buddy and I wanted to, impress our girlfriends. We took them for a drive, and you had to go out of your way to find this thing, and it was creepy. And we hit our lights as we were getting closer, and we started driving up the kind of rocky path to get to it. And as we did, we noticed a glint of something, and this was our first trip. My buddy flips on his headlights. There is a person about chest deep in a grave, digging a grave with a huge bag next to them, in the middle of the night. Yeah, and he just turned and looked at us, and it wasn't like his head snapped. It was like a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees slow head turn and just stare at you. And he's holding the shovel, and man, you've never seen two guys scream louder than we did. We threw it in reverse, pulled out of there. Our girlfriends were like, "You ninnies, you guys were screaming worse than we were." It was just an unsettling moment. But I went back a while later with my girlfriend to just experience it and see the place in the daylight. And we were walking around. At one point, while we're walking, you could hear what sounded like paws padding through the leaves behind us. And we'd stop and listen, and there was a gentle breeze. And again, I'm a skeptic, so I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that, you're going to hear some rustling of leaves. So we sat down at the one point. We're just sitting there kind of talking, and you could physically hear animals walking around you. You could hear it on the gravel, you could hear it in the leaves, and there was no breeze, but you could hear the going all around you as you were sitting there. So that was a really cool moment. I mean, in a sense, yeah, creepy, and in a sense, sad. To me, that's the most terrifying thing of ghosts. I've had a fear of death since I was as little as I can remember. I'm just turned 49. I still have this crippling fear of death, where there are nights I don't want to go to sleep because I don't want to not be here tomorrow, because all my cool stuff is here and I want to be with it, right? I got 7 beautiful kids, a granddaughter. I want to be here. So the idea of death just screws my head wrong. And I'm terrified by the concept of death. And what really freaks me out is when cemeteries are haunted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because shouldn't we have moved on? Why are Native American cemeteries haunted? Shouldn't the Native Americans be on the happy hunting ground? Why wouldn't we dig up this old cemetery? Are our ancestors coming up? That scares the hell out of me. Does that mean we stay with our rotting corpse through eternity? I don't want that. I want to be reborn as Bill Murray in a cyclical time chamber, so that I can come back and film Ghostbusters with Jenn. That's my plan when I die.
There you go.
I don't want to be hanging out creeping myself out in a cemetery. That to me is the most unnerving aspect of haunting.
You don't want to be hanging out with Fred Gwynn in a cemetery?
No, not at all.
See, that's funny, because he was in Pet Cemetery, and he used to be
I know. I followed you.
Yes.
I played with Mommy. Now I want to play with you.
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, that is the creepy
Off the
line
tracks here, off the
from
tracks.
that
Come back.
movie. No problem. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And there's a deathly
Okay.
silence.
Sometimes dead is better.
See what happens when you stop see what happens when you stop the flow of our conversation, Jimmy? Come on, man.
Yeah. I'll shut up.
So yeah, the whole idea of death. Yeah, the whole idea of death really unnerves me, freaks me out. I had an interesting theory that was posed to me. Is we look at what are ghosts? What could ghosts be? You know, there's the Hollywood would have us believe ghosts are simply our spirits that are here because we feel we have unfinished business. Okay, there's that possibility. There's the feeling that it could be trapped in this place, or it could be lost and doesn't realize that it's dead. To me, I have a hard time with that because, you know, if these ghosts are seeing us and interacting and we're walking around on the battlefields of Gettysburg in shorts and black socks and sandals, they have to know we don't belong there. And how could they not know they're dead at that point? So some of those theories don't hold a lot of water, but my friend Misty Bay, I call this the Bay theory because it sounds much tougher that way. She gave me this idea when we were out drinking one night, and we were trying to figure out why are ghosts so basic. They bang the walls, they flicker lights, they say, get out. Why are they so basic when they communicate? And we came to the realization that, and she said, she took her beer bottle and she peeled the label off the beer bottle. And she goes, okay, so let's say when we die, the best of us goes to wherever it goes next, heaven, the universe, wherever. And what's left behind is this. It's the wrapper. It's the garbage. It's the pettiness and anger and rage and jealousy and all the negative of what we are. And she crumples it up and she throws it down and she goes, and this is what haunts a location. That's why this little bit, what's left behind, stays at creepy old asylums and prisons because it's territorial. This is all it knows. It's its basic animal instinct, and it's packing with other pack spirits that are in that area. And why they fade in time is because that there's nothing to keep that cohesive. And after a while, it just starts to dissolve because it's not connected to the light of your essence anymore. So your spirit has moved on. All the crap is left behind to just eventually fade away. And that really resonated with me. That made me feel a little bit better that, you know, we will go somewhere else and that there's something else, and that the creepier aspects of hauntings, again, aren't necessarily meant to scare you, but it's what's left behind of our personality, the parts that didn't deserve to go where we go next. So that was, I thought, one of the more intriguing aspects of what happens when we die.
Interesting.
Very scary.
Very interesting.
All right,
Okay,
was that too deep? Do I need to pass the bong for that one?
Yeah. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that'd be kind of nice right now.
Bay theory, man.
Yeah, man. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about the webcam ghost.
Yes. And I know we don't have much time, so I'll try to get through this one quick for you. I had a friend in Seattle, Washington area, and she lived in a very haunted house and would tell me about it all the time. And one night she said, you know, my son's asleep. My mom and dad are out at their bowling tournament. She lived at home to help them around the house. She said, would you mind popping on webcam and just talking to me, keep me company? And I'm like, that's fine. So I popped up my webcam. It was late at night, and we're just kind of shooting the breeze back and forth. And she goes, I'm going to go get a glass of water. And she walks away. And a few seconds later, what appears to be the back of a little kid's head leans in front of the camera and then bobs back. And then I said, oh, your son's up, huh? And she goes, no, why? And I said, well, I just saw the back of his head on the webcam. And she gets this terrified look on her face. And she goes, what do you mean the back of his head? I said, well, he leaned in front of the camera and I could see the back of this little boy's head. And she points behind her so I could see. She points down the hallway. She goes, my son is sleeping back there in his room. There's nobody else out here but you and me. And then she's like, please tell me you're kidding. So I'm like, oh, yeah, don't worry. I must have been mistaken, and I don't want to freak her out. I'm like, no worries. So we're chatting for a while. I'm starting to get tired. She's 2 hours behind me. I'm in Central Time Zone. It's getting late. And as she's talking, at one point she stops and kind of looks over her shoulder and then comes back to talk to me. and behind her, coming in through the door, is this older woman. And the older woman walks in, and she turns to the camera and from back in the room, and she kind of tips her head like she's trying to see who's on the video camera with her. And I see her set something down, and she walks over and sits in the chair next to my friend. And we chit-chat for a few more minutes, and then I go, honey, I got to get going to bed. Now that your mom and dad are home, I think you're okay. I'm going to go to bed. And she goes, they're not home yet. And I said, I said, sweetie, your mom just walked in. I watched her. She walked right up. She's sitting in the chair next to you. And she didn't have her picture enlarged, so she couldn't see what I was seeing. So she pops it up, and her face goes shock white. She grabs the lamp that's on the desk and swings it at the chair, and the woman's gone.
Whoa.
So we both saw this woman sitting in the chair. Because it was low light, dark, she just had this little lamp light on the desk. It looked very gray tone to me, and it looked like somebody you'd see kind of walking into a dark room and sitting in the chair. And I ended up telling her, hold on, and I called two of my other buddies, and we had this big video conference. So we were like on watch till her parents got home to watch and see if anything else weird happened. But that was a really holy beep moment for me, because I watched it unfold right in front of my eyes, and it was awesome. It was so cool, and it was one of those, of course, nobody's running it as a video camera. We're just using it as a two-way communication device, so nobody recorded the thing. But it was really one of the more fascinating and freaky moments for me and for her. Thank God the ghost sat next to her, not to me.
Oh. Okay, that would officially freak me out.
Yeah.
A couple questions. A couple people are asking what time your show is on Monday.
It actually, the show I uploaded on Sunday night, and it shows up around 2 a.m. on Monday morning. So when you wake up Monday, it's there. Best thing to do is go to podcast1.com and look up Beyond the Darkness. You can subscribe to it so it automatically alerts you, or you can do it on iTunes. Look up Beyond the Darkness on iTunes. It's a cute little ghost holding a microphone. That's us. And just subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode of the show. And you can go catch the first 3 shows are available right now. And on Podcast One, they're out there for about 12 weeks, and then each one starts to drop off, and then they go into the archives that you have to pay for. So if you want to download it and listen to them free, this is the time to do it. So it's Beyond the Darkness at either podcast1.com or at iTunes. And that'd be the best way to catch up with it. Black Eyed Kids were our first 2 episodes. Shadow People was just this one we did this last week, and it's got a really creepy story in it. So I think people are going to like it.
Cool.
I love that.
You know what's it's embarrassing. My friend has a podcast on Podcast One, and he used to send me the link, and I was like, "What's Podcast Stone?" I just figured it out. Idiot.
Podcast Stone. That's funny, because that's like when I was reading this article, and they kept talking about the boys from NSYNC, and they kept referring to Joey Fatone, but they kept calling him the fat one. And I'm like, why? That's so rude. Why do they keep calling him the fat one? And I didn't realize that was the way his name was spelled. Fatone is funny. Fat one if you read it quickly. So I'm with you in the misreading of things.
Fat one. Okay.
He kind of was, or he was.
Stop it. No. He's delicious. He's a delicious boy band member.
Yes.
We love him, but
we love him.
He's smaller. He's bigger than the other ones. We have 1 minute left. We have 1 minute.
Yes.
1 minute. This
Tell us
one's so
story.
Fast. Jeez.
Wow.
Are we going to be able to see you on any shows that are coming up? Any ghost adventures at this point? Have you filmed anything?
I've filmed about 6 episodes throughout the year, 6-7 episodes of Ghost Adventures. You can find them. I did Rolling Hills Asylum, the Palmer House Hotel. I just did one at the Stardust Ranch in Arizona. They're always popping up. The Return to Bobby Mackey's, so you can find me popping up throughout those episodes, and the Demon House in Seattle. So I show up periodically, and who knows, I might make another appearance in the next year or 2. So just keep watching, and you can follow what I'm doing at darknessradio.com and join me on my live events at darknessevents.com, where we go investigate famous haunted locations across the United States.
Yeah.
Darknessevents.com.
That's
perfect.
Awesome.
Next week is Friday the 13th. We don't know what we're doing yet, but thanks for joining us, Dave.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
It was
so much fun, my friend.
Brock, Jennifer,
thank you,
Dr.
and thank
Dave,
you so much
listeners,
for inviting me.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week on the Haunted
Have a
Chronicles.
good one.
Bye.